Welcome to the Nourish to Thrive podcast, faith-forward, science-backed strategies for women who want more energy, less weight, and real answers. I'm your host, Tanya Pennington-Miller, a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and functional blood chemistry specialist with a master's degree in applied clinical nutrition. If you're tired of feeling dismissed by your doctor, confused by your labs, and stuck in survival mode, you're in the right place. Here, we simplify the science, we get to the root, and we anchor it all in truth. Because God made your body to heal and thrive, not just survive. It just needs the right kind of support and less noise. Hello, my friend. Welcome in to the Nourish to Thrive podcast. I am so glad you're back with me today. Now, if you caught last week's episode, you know I talked a little bit about how amazing that I felt coming home from our cruise. Like I felt steady and peaceful and just not rushed or anxious. Like sometimes I do when I come home from a trip. And after a few days, it really hit me. A big part of why I felt the way I felt was because I had actually rested. Like deep nervous system, soul level rest. But then came this conviction. Like I realized I had let my Sabbath practice slip somewhere along the way, like not intentionally, but just little by little. And this trip was so revitalizing for me because I had stopped resting at home. Like I had stopped resting in my everyday life. And it's not that I had become, where I was living in this place of overwhelm, because I really hadn't, but I wasn't intentionally resting. So I made myself a promise that Sunday I was going to bring it back. Okay, so this cruise reminded me of something that I wanted to talk with you about today, and that is the cultural lie that tells us that we can and we should do it all. And the holy rhythm God designed that actually brings us back to peace. Okay, somewhere along the way, we started to believe that being capable meant being constantly available, that our ability to do more somehow made us more valuable. But the big truth that I want to open with today is that we've mistaken hustle for holiness and exhaustion for excellence. So, and this isn't just about burnout, okay? We're talking about obedience here, because the truth is you can't live out your calling if you're living outside of God's rhythm. And listen, this isn't the first time that I'm touching on this topic with you. And full transparency, it's not going to be the last, because the way God made me, I have to constantly remind myself to come back into this space, to abide, to rest, and to not strive. Okay, so you're coming along with me. Now, we live in a world that truly worships busy, right? It praises women who can juggle it all: the career, the kids, the workouts, the meals, the endless to-do list, and then somehow still show up smiling. Like the message is everywhere. You can do it all. You should do it all. And if you can't, well, we'll just try harder. Just wake up earlier, an hour earlier. Just push through. Just be a little bit more disciplined. But here's the truth that nobody says out loud. That message, not only is it exhausting, it is not from God. Like Jesus never said, do it all. Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 and 30 through 30 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." See, the world says your worth is in what you produce, while God says your worth was settled long before you produced anything. And the reason why so many women feel anxious and inflamed and tired and short-tempered, it is not because they are deficient in another medication that their doctor wants to prescribe them for anxiety. Okay, it's because they're doing too much for too long. Okay, you can't live in a constant output and expect your body or your spirit to stay peaceful. your hormones can't keep up with your pace. Your nervous system can't recover when you never stop. And your soul can't hear God clearly when your mind never slows down. So it's not laziness we're fighting. We're not needing more discipline. Okay, we're fighting overload. And what the world calls strong is often just survival mode in disguise. And I'm going to say that one more time. What the world calls strong is often just survival mode in disguise. Okay, so let's talk about what this pressure actually does to us. When you live in go mode all the time, your nervous system gets this message that you're never safe to rest. Your cortisol stays high, your progesterone drops, your sleep gets shallow, and your body just starts holding on to weight. Simply because your body is protecting you. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Because constant striving doesn't just exhaust you emotionally, it wears you down physically too. You absolutely cannot heal while you're in hustle mode. Now, I felt this in real time when we got home from the cruise. Like for days, I was just amazed how grounded I felt, how steady my energy was. My digestion was great. My mind was calm. And it just really made me realize something so powerful, that peace wasn't just from that ocean air, although that helped too, right? It was from the fruit of rest. I felt so good coming home because of the rest I had while we were gone, that kind of rest where your body isn't rushing, like your mind is not racing, and you actually just feel very present in your life. It sounds so simple. Like I was waking up whenever I woke up. I had no agenda in mind. I wasn't scrolling on my phone. I wasn't checking emails. I wasn't thinking about time blocking for time management, right? And so when I got home, I kept thinking about how great I was feeling, and it hit me hard. I had let my Sabbath practice slip to the side. And I knew I needed to start practicing it again every week as a way to protect the peace that God had just reminded me was possible. So the following Sunday, which was just a few days ago now, I brought my Sabbath back. Okay, I'm not a Justin Timberlake fan. However, I'm reminded of his song. And can we change it? Instead of bringing sexy back, can we change it to I'm bringing Sabbath back? Okay. So on Sunday morning, I lit a candle. Okay. I set my phone aside. I didn't touch my laptop. I stopped producing, and I just was. Like I was just present with my daughter, uninterrupted for the entire day. And it reminded me that kind of peace is so sacred. Like God built rest into creation itself. It's not a luxury. It's a law of love. He rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but because he was modeling wholeness. Like we need to be resting before we are tired. Okay. In the same way that we should stay hydrated before we become dehydrated, right? Like becoming dehydrated can be incredibly dangerous. In the same way that becoming exhausted can be incredibly dangerous. We just don't give it that credit. And somewhere along the way, we started believing that constant doing was faithfulness. But busyness without boundaries is not holy. In fact, it's harmful. In rest is worship. It's saying, God, you are God. I'm not. He never asked you to do it all. He asked you to do what he has called you to do, and then to trust him with the rest. Your limitations are not flaws. They are absolutely divine direction. And boundaries are not barriers to your purpose. They are actually what protect it. Now, in Genesis 2, God models limits. In Matthew 11, Jesus invited rest. And in Psalm 127, we're reminded that unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. And when we resist rest, we're really saying it all depends on me. But when we actually choose rest, we declare, I trust God to hold what I lay down. because he doesn't bless hustle, he blesses alignment. And this is the part that really hit me recently. When we push past every limit, we stop partnering with God and we start performing for him. We trade that relationship for results, and that is never what he wanted. Now, before we go any further, I want to pause for a second. I might be losing some of you. I want to talk to the woman who has big goals, the woman who is driven, the one who loves to build, to create, to lead, to push towards something meaningful. Okay, because if that's you, I see you and I get it, because that's me too. Okay, there's this tension that can start to rise when we talk about rest and surrender. You might be thinking, but Tanya, isn't a little bit of striving what got me here? And honestly, it's the same thing I used to think. I would put a wall up. Okay, I actually remember sitting on a call. It's been, a handful of years ago now. And I was listening to somebody talk about this exact thing. They weren't talking directly to me. It was to a whole group, okay? But I knew deep down that God meant it for me because of this conviction that I felt in that moment. Okay, the truth is that I did not want to accept what they were saying as truth. They were talking about slowing down, about surrender, about abiding, about releasing control. And instead of peace, what I felt was defensiveness. Almost like this wall went up inside of me as she was talking. And I remember thinking, but if I don't grind, how would I even be where I am today? If I didn't push through, none of this would exist. And I didn't want to believe her because I didn't want to let go of the thing that had gotten me this far. But here's what God showed me later. It was actually on my wedding anniversary. And my husband kind of pulled me aside and he asked me if everything was okay. And I said, yeah, why? And he said, well, it's our wedding anniversary and you just really haven't said or done anything about it like you normally do. And it hit me right between the eyes. I had been so busy doing and building and producing that I wasn't present in living. I needed to lift my head up to look around and remember what actually mattered. And the person teaching this that day, okay, she's been on this podcast before. It was Shay Greenwood. She is the Kingdom Life Coach inside of my alumni membership. And the very reason I invited her to join us in that role is because she carries such a gift for speaking truth in a way that pierces, but also frees you at the same time. That conversation planted a seed that has been growing in me ever since. Maybe I should share that with her. Now, here's the thing. There are acute seasons where God asks for your grit, okay, where you might be building something new. You might be pushing through resistance, okay, or faithfully showing up in the hard, okay? That's not the problem. The problem is when this acute season turns into a chronic season, okay? When the hustle that helped you build becomes the pattern that starts to break you because your body and your spirit weren't meant to live there forever. And I've pushed past that point before. It got me into adrenal exhaustion diagnosis. Okay, there's a difference between holy drive and constant striving. Striving comes from fear. That belief that if you don't hold it all together, it's all going to fall apart. Okay, holy drive comes from alignment and it's fueled by peace and not panic. Striving says it all depends on me. Okay, while holy drive says I'll do my part and I'll trust God with the rest. And that shift changes everything because yes, God will use your work ethic. He'll bless your discipline. He'll multiply your faithfulness. But he's also going to invite you into a deeper rhythm, okay, one where you no longer have to earn what he already wants to give you. And so maybe you're in that in-between season right now where, you're learning to run on grace instead of adrenaline, realizing that the same drive that once helped you build can also help to burn you out if you're not anchored in him. This isn't about throwing out your goals. It's not about softening your strength. It's about aligning your ambition with God's design. Because when you do, You don't lose your edge. You just stop cutting yourself with it. Okay, now here's where we get practical because you can't pour from emptiness. Okay, but you can return to the rhythm that God designed for you. And before we talk about how, I just want to pause and ask you a few questions. Okay, where in your life are you saying yes out of fear instead of out of calling? Okay, where are you striving for control instead of surrendering to trust? And where are you over functioning because you're afraid things will fall apart if you don't hold them together? Okay, I want you to really write these down. I want you to sit with those questions. These are the questions that help you locate where you're living outside of rhythm. Okay, because awareness is where restoration can begin. Okay, so here's what it can look like to start coming back into rhythm. Okay, and you build upon these, but this is a great starting place. So an entire day of Sabbath might sound even a little overwhelming. What do you mean? No phone, no laptop, no, fill in the blank of what you normally like to do to produce. And you want me to just for an entire day? Well, here's where I want you to start. This is my ask. Set aside 2 intentional hours, one time per week. 2 hours. Okay. Light a candle at the start. I love the candle because not only does it signify for you what you're about to do, but it also lets everybody else in your home know exactly what you're doing. Okay. And during these 2 hours, while this candle is lit, no producing, just presence. Read, rest, go outside, worship, listen to worship music, or simply just breathe. And at the end of that 2 hours, blow out the candle. And that's just a reminder that sacred rest really does fit into your life. Start with this bite-sized practice. You'll feel a difference at the end of 2 hours. Okay, number 2, say one holy no. Okay, say no to one thing this week that is keeping you living rushed. Okay, not as a rebellion, but truly a stewardship. Like it's just saying, I trust that God will fill the space that I leave open. And you know what that thing is, and it's something different for all of us. There's something you feel convicted about. Number 3, I like to call a help map. Write down one area where you need support and one person that you can ask for help. Okay, because real strength is not in doing it all. It's actually in receiving help. And I know it sounds blasphemous to some. But remember, Jesus modeled community. You were never meant to carry everything alone. So seek help. And it blesses others to help you. It blesses others to bless you. Okay, and number 4, morning first 5. Before the noise, before your phone, I just want you to take 5 minutes. Either 5 minutes in the Word, 5 minutes breathing, 5 minutes in the sunlight, 5 minutes getting in some minerals, 5 minutes just coming up with 5 things that you are grateful for that you can recite. Start your day with God and let Him lead your day instead of you chasing your day. Okay, those are 4 things, 4 bite-sized things. A mini Sabbath, one holy no, a help map, and morning first 5. Okay, they're not rules. They're just rhythms to help you return to your peace. Simple. They're just tangible ways to step out of survival and back into surrender. Okay, Colossians chapter 3, verse 17 says, whatever you do in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus. And that includes how you rest, how you move, how you care for your body and your boundaries. Okay, because this isn't all just about doing less. It's about doing life with Him. And he doesn't call us to do it all. He calls us to walk with him in all we do. Okay? He doesn't call us to do it all. He calls us to walk with him in all we do. And that's where peace lives. When we trade hustle for holiness, we find rest. When we release control, we find clarity. When we choose obedience over overextension, we start living in the rhythm we were always designed for. Okay, Psalm 127 verses 1-2 remind us, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. In vain, you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. You do not have to earn rest. You do not have to prove your worth. And you most definitely do not have to do it all. You're allowed to build a life that reflects peace and not pressure, because burnout is not your destiny. Peace is your destiny. And when you release control, you create space for God to move. When you protect your boundaries, you are protecting your health. Let me pray for you. Lord, every woman who's listening who is tired of striving, Lord, would you just remind her that you never asked her to do it all? Lord, you asked her to abide. I just pray that you would help her release what was never hers to carry and to find rest in you instead. Lord, teach her that surrender isn't weakness, Lord, it's worship. And Lord, I just pray that your peace would settle over her body, Lord, over her mind, over her home. In your glorious name we pray. Amen. If today's episode spoke to you, if it reminded you to lift your head, to look around, to take a breath, and let God set the pace again, I would love to hear from you. Come share your story with me, or maybe a takeaway over on Instagram at tanya.pennington.miller. And I'd love to hear about how you are learning to live from peace and not pressure. And if you have a friend who's been running on empty, send her this episode. It might be the gentle reminder she needs that God never asked her to do it all either, only to walk with him. Don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode, and I will see you next week, my friend. That's it for today on the Nourish to Thrive podcast. If you found value here, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or send it to someone who's walking a similar path. Keep showing up, keep asking questions, and know that healing is possible, especially when you trust the one who designed your body to heal. Until next time, stay rooted in truth and nourished in grace.